Let me tell you the story of Joy Pandey and his brother Peter Pandey. Joy Pandey is a student at Atlic Commerce College and Peter Pandey is an AI-enabled data professional. Peter also saved his brother by using the OpenAI Function Calling. Yes, he did. Joy was depressed as his project got rejected by his dean. Joy successfully integrated ChatGPT with the college website for his project. But the dean wanted something more. He wanted his chatbot to answer specific questions related to college's internal knowledge. Dean said, "Throw this in the dustbin and you cannot graduate this year." But Peter had other plans. He wanted to help Joy. He decided to build an internal ChatGPT. In fact, he succeeded in building a prototype, the first small step towards a giant leap. In this video, I'm going to take you along Peter's journey of building Q&A system for Atlic College that can not only answer general questions, but questions specific to college database such as student fees, marks information, etc. This is going to be a perfect project if you want to acquire skills around NLP, LLM, especially using OpenAI, and build a career around it. Fasten your seatbelts and get ready for the ride. Let's look at how we are going to build this project. Atlic College has a MySQL database that stores information on students such as marks, fees, etc. Essentially, we have to use this database and combine it with ChatGPT's knowledge and build Atlic Q&A system which can not only answer general questions which ChatGPT can answer, but a student-specific questions as well. We are going to build this application in Streamlit. See, it is answering all the questions related to Atlic College as well. Now, when you think about the project architecture, whenever you are thinking about any LLM such as GPT-3, GPT-4, which are the LLM models behind applications such as ChatGPT, these models have two components, reasoning and the knowledge. You all know as of right now, ChatGPT has knowledge till September 2021. So when you're asking this question, and if it is part of their knowledge and reasoning capability, it doesn't have to go anywhere else. It can just directly answer that question. But when you ask question specific to your organization knowledge, it doesn't know. It doesn't have that information in the knowledge, but it can use its reasoning capabilities, okay? And it can probably make a call to a database. So somehow, that knowledge, that what is Peter Pandey's fee payment in the first semester, that answer is here in this database. We have to somehow make a call to this database, maybe using a Python function that can accept student name, semester, etc. And that should return an answer back. Now, using the reasoning capabilities of LLM, it can actually translate this question into an appropriate function call. And once you have the answer, such as $3,000, once again, you can use LLM to translate that number into a human readable answer, which is Peter has paid blah, blah, blah in first semester. This functionality is called OpenAI Function Calling, which is something OpenAI has released recently. It's a very hot technology, and we are going to write code using this hot technology today. Let's first understand OpenAI function calling by going over the simple example that they have given in the documentation. For this purpose, I have created an empty directory called Atlic College QA, which I'm going to open in my PyCharm. Here I have selected the folder. I'll hit OK. And it's gonna create an empty project. I will create a file to store my secret key. I will call it secretkey.py, where I will create a variable. I'll call it sk something, okay, and that will be my secret key. And then from here, from secret key, I will import that particular key, which I will use to initialize my OpenAI module. Okay, we have looked into this in the previous video as well for the OpenAI crash course, so this is pretty straightforward. And the basic functionality is given by this call called chat completion, which is kind of obvious to everyone, where you can ask any question and it will return the answer. So I'll right click, run, and I have, by the way, updated my OpenAPI key, so it should work. And then we will move to a more complex question. So see, it is giving you the answer which ChatGPT would have given to you otherwise. Now let's try our next question, which is what is the weather like in Boston? And obviously it's gonna fail. It will say, okay, I don't have the latest information, blah, blah, blah. Fine. Now let's hook up a function which can give you Boston's weather. And as per the documentation, we'll just create a dummy function. Usually you will have a function which is connected to a database or some kind of API call, and it can give you the latest weather. But here, just for demo purpose, we will use this dummy function. And what that dummy function is doing is it is returning you a hard-coded response. It takes location and unit as an input. Unit by default is Fahrenheit. You can give degrees as well, and it will just return you this hard-coded response. So here, if you check the documentation, there is another argument to this function called functions. Okay, and I'm just gonna copy paste here just to save my time on typing. And here, this functions is a variable which is a list, and in the list you provide information on what function OpenAPI can call if it doesn't find information in its own knowledge. And those functions are, so you can say the name of the function is get current weather. Okay, and you can give some other parameters too. So once again, I'll copy. So name is get current weather, and I have few other things which I can just copy here. Okay, and here you can see two parameters, location and unit, which is what you have here. Location and unit. Location type is string, unit type is string, but enum, it can take only these two values. Now when you give this mapping to chat completion API, it will first detect the question, then it will say, okay, I can't find this in my own knowledge. Then it will look at this functions parameter, and it will try to map the correct function. Now see, I'm showing only one function. This can have 100 functions, but since it is a language model, it will have that reasoning capability that it can map this question, what is the weather like in Boston, to this particular function, and it will use function name as well as description. So from the description, it can figure out that this is the right function. Not only that, it can also extract the right entities or right parameters for the function. We need location, so it will say, oh, Boston is a city name, so that's why I need to put that into location. And we don't have unit here. If I say what's weather like in Celsius, it will map that to a unit. So that is how it will work. Let's try this out and see how it goes. So here I'm going to just once again copy paste this thing here, only this part, and let's run this code and see how it goes. You saw it actually extracted the right function and right location. Once again, I have one function. You can have 100 functions here. It is able to figure out that what is the weather like in Boston question corresponds to this function and these many arguments. So now we can pull that function name. So what we'll do is we will say, okay, this is the response message. Now from that response message, this is the message. Actually, this is response and this is the message. So this is the response, and the response message looks something like this. Response, and in bracket this thing right here, and from response message you want to pull function call, and there will be a name. So that will be your function name. Okay, and then function args will be this, but the arguments parameter. Now you see, this is a string. It's a dictionary, but dictionary is inside the string. So if you want to convert string to a dictionary, what do? Well, you use choose JSON.load string function. That way you can have the function arguments. Okay, and once you have that, you can directly call. You have function name, you have function argument. So now you are ready to call this function. But what we'll do is we will create this map called available function to call. And the reason that we create this map is because you don't need to necessarily have same function name here. You can have let's say get current weather function here, and you can have some other name xyz. So you can do that kind of mapping here. Okay, so let's say if your function name here, for example, was xyz, then you will put xyz here. So you're getting an idea. And from that available function, say function name, if I do this, I will get xyz, right? Because it's a dictionary, I'm just pulling the element from the dictionary. And then you can call a function. So this is where you're calling a function. And here, this function takes two parameters, location and the unit. So what is a location? Well, location is in function argument. Remember, function argument is a dictionary. And here in the dictionary, if you want to pull an element from the dictionary, you can say get function. So this is how you call that function, and what you get in return is a function response. So let's print the function response first and see if it is working. Okay, perfect. See, it called the function, this one, and it is returning you this hard-coded response. But this response doesn't look very much human readable. If you want to print a human readable message such as a weather in Boston is 72, blah, 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 you can once again use LLM, and you can call LLM to kind of get a nice response. So for doing that, what you will do is we have this messages parameter in our call. We will make a variable out of it, and then for messages we'll pass that, and in this messages we will append few things. Now the way LLMs work is if you give some past context, it performs better. It's almost like a chat history, you're giving it back. So that is the reason we are taking this messages and we are appending few things. So what we are going to append? Well, we are going to append the, I think, response message. That's what their documentation says. Okay, so we are going to append response message and these two things. So let's just copy paste this thing here. So we appended a response message, and then we also append this another element where you're saying role is function. See, previously the role was only user or assistant. Now they have introduced a new role for function, and there is a function name and there is a function argument, and whatever you get here, I think we need to call LLM again. So that will be your second response. So we are calling LLM here, and that the response you can print here, second response. And right now the model you need to use is this. However, I mean, they might have upgraded GPT 3.5. I think they did, because this thing was already working. But anyways, since this is in the documentation, I'll use the same model. And when you run this, you will get nice human readable message. The current weather in Boston is sunny and windy. All right. I hope you have a good basic understanding of function. If you still have doubts, don't worry. Let's look at our Atlic College database, and after that it should be super clear. Let us now do database setup for our application. I have launched MySQL Workbench, and here I'm going to import the database that I have already given to you in the code. So if you check video description below, you should be able to download this code, which will have DB directory, and this is the SQL file that you can open here. And let's create a new schema first. Let's call it Atlic College DB. Apply, schema is created. Let's make that a default schema. and let's execute the script. This script is creating tables, it is inserting records, it is creating stored procedures and so on. If you refresh this, you will see these tables and stored procedures. So the first table is fees, where your student name, the semester that he's studying in. Let's say $6,000 was the fees for Bill Gates for second semester, out of which he has paid 6,000, so he doesn't have anything pending. But Elon Musk, because he has money problems, he has paid only $2,000, he has $5,000 pending. Simple table. In reality, in real life, if you look at college databases, they will not have student name as a primary key. They will probably have student ID here, and student information will be in a separate table. But we want to keep things simple. That's why we have this kind of simple schema. And the second table is marks, where there is student name, second semester Bill Gates got 3 GPA out of 4. So that's a simple schema we have. You also have some stored procedure. So if you execute this stored procedure, and if you just say Elon Musk in a third semester, how much is the pending fees? If you execute that, see 5,000. If you say total, it will say 7,000. If you don't give student name, it will give you the total fees for all the students in third semester. Okay, so you can look at the stored procedure, you will get an idea. The other one is get marks. So let's say you want to get the marks of a specific student, and you can say student name is, let's say, Jack Ma, how much he got in fourth semester. Operation is a special parameter, so we don't need to worry about it. Jack Ma 4, it should return 3.30, and 3.30 it has returned. Now in the operation, the value can be, let's say, max, okay, or average. Let me try max. So what happens is, when you don't give student name, what it will do is, in the fourth semester, tell me what was the maximum GPA. So maximum GPA in fourth semester, what was 3.5. And if you look at third semester, it was 2.9. So let's confirm that. Here we can say where semester is equal to 3, and in the third semester the maximum was 2.9, which is what we see here. Now let's think about what kind of questions a user may ask to our Q&A system. We have two tables, fees and marks. So person can ask fee related question or mark related question. Fee related question may look like this: how much Peter Pandey has paid so far? The answer of that will be, see here, Peter Pandey has paid $3,000 so far in first semester. Or how much is pending for Peter Pandey? So Peter Pandey has to still pay $2,000. Or what is the total fees for semester 1, which is, what is the total, maybe we can say, what is the total, let's say, pending fees for semester 1. So we'll go to semester 1, get all the pending fees and sum it up. We will write a Python function called get fees maybe, which will take an input and it should return a number, which is an answer to this question. If you look at these 3 questions, the answer to these questions will be single number. And in the input, what do you need? So maybe we can make input a dictionary where you can give a student name, which can be, let's say, Peter Pandey. Okay. And semester is needed, of course. So we don't support just the student name. It is mandatory that you have to supply semester name as well. That's just a requirement. I mean, we can enhance this program and we can remove that restrictions, but just to keep things simple, we are asking them to enter semester. And the third thing is, you need to specify, are you asking for pending fees or total fees or paid fees? There are 3 fees types that we have. We will get that into this parameter called fees type. It can be pending, it can be paid, or it can be total. Okay, so that's how the input should look like, and return value will be whatever, some number. Let's look at mark related question. You may ask, what was Elon Musk's GPA in semester 2? Elon Musk seems to be a bright student. Let's see what was his GPA. Oh, 2.7, not that great. Anyways, but here you can ask for GPA for a specific student, or you can ask for the GPA of the entire semester. Let's say in semester 3, what was my average GPA? Or what was my minimum GPA and maximum GPA? In that case, we can have a function like this, get marks, where you have student name, semester, and you can have an operation. Operation can be max, min, or average. Whenever student name is blank, we will assume you are asking for, let's say if it is something like this, we'll assume that you are asking for a maximum GPA in semester 1. If it is average, you are asking for average GPA in, let's say, semester 3. But if there is a name of the student, then we will ignore this parameter. We'll say, okay, you are asking for GPA for this student in this semester. Similarly here, if you keep this thing blank, we will say you are asking for total pending fees. Let's say this is pending. Total pending fees in semester 1. But if you have a student name here, you are asking for that student's pending fees in semester 2. This is how our database, not database, but the function, Python function design is going to look like. And then I can go ahead and write Python functions, which will see this function will call database and get the desired result. When you call the database, luckily we have all these stored procedures. You can directly call a stored procedure and get a number. So let's say student name Elon Musk, for example, or let's say this is a marks table. So if you want to get Elon Musk marks in, so Elon Musk GPA in semester 3, or let's say you want to get, okay, let's get this first. So Elon Musk GPA in semester 3 is 2.7. You can see 2.7. Or if you want to get an average in 3 in the third semester, you will make this blank and you will say, get me an average GPA of third semester, which is also 2.7. For fourth semester, it is 3.3 and so on. Now, what do you think? Do you think I'm going to write all this code myself? Well, I have a good friend whose name is ChatGPT. I asked that friend, hey, can you write this Python code? I have these two stored procedure, get marks and get fees, which takes this XYZ input and it should call this database. When I wrote all those description, it gave me this nice functions. And of course, it doesn't get things right in first shot. So you have to give different prompt. Initially, it used MySQL. Then I said, can you use MySQL connector? Because I personally like that module better. And it wrote me a nice code, which I can use with very little modification. And if you look at this, you'll realize that the database that you're using in this video, that is also generated by ChatGPT. Even the stored procedure that we wrote, they are generated by ChatGPT. Where see, I write a stored procedure called get fees, where input name is this, when student name is blank, return this. You just give your requirement, and it will write the code for you. So now let me create a new file called dbhelper. So dbhelper is a Python file which will have all those functions, get fees and get semester, which will interact with a database and return us the desired results. So that's the code that we have. And if I have to kind of quickly go over it, initially we connect with the database using this MySQL connector object. My host name is localhost, username password is root, database name is this, database connection, closing code, and then get marks and get fees. These are the two functions. And if you look at the parameters, it's a dictionary which has student name, semester, and operation. You can see operation here. And all it is doing is calling a stored procedure. When you say call proc, you are calling a stored procedure. And then you can iterate through the results and get the first result, because we will get just one result back. Same thing for get fees. And then here we are calling those two functions. So let me just run these. And here I'm missing print here. So 2.7 and 3000. So 2.7 is an average GPA in semester 3. Okay, how about semester 4? 3.3. We already saw that. 3.3 is an average GPA. So let's say, so in my 4th semester, what is an average GPA? This is a SQL query. It says 3.3, see the 3.3. And how much fees is pending for Peter Pandey? We already saw it is $3,000. So if you look at Peter Pandey here, see $3,000 is pending. So this code is working fine. Our DB helper is ready. We are ready to call this function from our OpenAPI chat completion call. Now we are going to make use of OpenAI function calling to call these functions get marks and get fees. For this, I will right click, create a new file, call it OpenAI helper. And here I will put my usual code, the one that we used in that Boston weather example. We are importing a bunch of things, initializing OpenAPI, key, etc. And then I'll go to the documentation and copy paste this code. But before that, let me create a function called getAnswer. So getAnswer is the function, single function that we'll call, which will have question as an input. And for this question, it will return an answer. So here, this is the main code to call the OpenAI. And what is needed as an input is, see, messages and functions. So what is messages? Messages is an array. It is an array of the question that you are asking, which will have a role, which is a user role, and the message or the content, it is called content, will be your question. And then for functions, this is also an array, and it will have all our function mapping. So we have two functions. The first function is get marks. So get marks, that is first function. Second function is get fees. And we will also have a description. And that description, we need to give a proper description here, which can help LLM map to a correct function. I took some time, thought about it, and I wrote this description. You can pause this video and read it. Get the GPA for a college student or an aggregate GPA, blah, blah, blah. Similarly, we will have a description for the fees as well. And that's gonna look something like this. See, LLM has a language understanding. So when you read this description and when you have an input question, it knows how to match that input question to one of these functions. That's why writing a proper description and giving proper function name is going to help LLM decide the proper function, proper parameters too. So I will just copy paste parameters here just to save time on recording. And these parameters are kind of same what we saw in Boston weather example, where you have input parameter is an object, it's a dictionary, and it has student name, semester, and operation, 3 types. An operation can be max, min, or average, and semester can be number between 1 to 4. Same thing here. I did some bunch of trial error, some work, and then I figured out this is the proper, properties. This is how the properties should be defined. Okay, now that our messages and function is defined, what we can do is we can call this function. Let's call this function. Just quickly try it out. How much was Peter Pandey's total fees in the first semester? That is a question. Okay, so once you get the response, in the response there will be, let's see, how does the response look like first of all? So response looks something like this. So it will have choices and, okay, no, not this one. So it will have choices, and within the choices it will have message, and within the message it will have content. Okay, so here what I will do is I will just get the message portion in a separate variable called response message, and I'll maybe return response message. And let's print this to see what happens. So just pause the video, think about it. You are giving a question and OpenAI is intelligently going to match that question to one of these two functions. So let's right click, run it. Ta-dan. See, it matched this question to function get fees, not get marks. And it also figured out that first semester, see, first means 1. See, it is intelligent. It is mapping first to number 1. Why it is doing that? Because I said that this number should be a number between 1 to 4. So it is using all these hints that I'm giving it to him. And also it is mapping it to total. So let's say I have these 3 NM total pending paid and my, see, okay, what happens is Peter Pandey's due fees. So see, if I say due fees, I don't have a parameter called due, but I have a parameter called pending. Let's see if it can match it to pending. Due means pending. See, that is the whole purpose of language model. When you say due, it knows based on this that it has to match due with one of these 3 values. And as a language model, it understands language. It says, okay, due's meaning is what? Is it paid, pending, or total? It is now it is pending. So it will match it to pending and it will generate this kind of dictionary. So if I have to explain this using a presentation, it will look something like this. You have given this configuration to your LLM. Input question comes. It will use now its reasoning abilities, its language understanding to say which function is appropriate for this question. It will say, okay, this is a fees related question, so it has to be get fees. And the way it does this is it will compare this question with the description that you have given here and the name of the function. And based on that, it can figure out, okay, it's get fees. Then second thing it needs to do is it needs to extract the entities from this statement. See, this statement. It needs to extract the entities which can serve as an input to this function, which is student name, semester, fees type. Now it will say Peter Pandey, semester 1, paid. See, this question can have how much Peter Pandey is due. Then if it is due, then it will match to paid. If you have first FIRST, then it will match to 1. Why it will match to 1? Because you are saying in semester the values can be 1 to 4. See here, a number between 1 to 4. Therefore, and then once you know the function name and then parameters, then it's easy. In DB helper, we have defined this get fees function. It will call the database MySQL, return you this $3,000. You can return this as a response back. Or if you want a human readable response, once again call LLM and say, hey LLM, what is the right response for this? Now LLM has a context of all your previous conversation. So it will figure it out and it will generate a nice response. Peter Pandey has $3,000 so far. Same thing. If you have GPA related question, it will figure out it is get marks function, extract entities, figure out function argument, Python code, generates an answer. Again, LLM generates a beautiful human readable answer. All right, now in response message, which looks something like this, I will check if there is an element called function call. And the way you do that in Python dictionary is by saying .get. And if it exists, then we need to map this to a appropriate function. So I have created this dictionary where these function calls, these function calls like get fees, etc., are actually mapped to a real functions. These two can be different. Okay, name string can be different. And then you are getting the function name, call, arguments. This code is same as what we did in the Boston example. So you get this and then you get a function response back. So let's print a function response, or let's return a function response, and let's see if things are working so far good or not. So the question here is we are trying to get the fees of Peter Pandey's due fees, pending fees. And when you run this, $2,000. So if you just verify in your table, see $2,000 is pending. If you say paid fees, it will be returned 3,000, etc. What is the average GPA of semester 3? Average GPA of semester 3. So let's say semester 3, if you run it, it is this. If you say average, the average GPA, select average GPA, 2.7. See, 2.7. So this thing is working fine. Let me try one more thing. Average marks. Now see, marks and GPA are two different things, but as a language model, it should understand. See, so look at it, how smart it is. It knows marks and GPA are same thing. Therefore, it goes and internally, see, in this function, what happens is, it will call this function, get marks, and it will give semester 2 as an input and average as an operation. And it will, call this function, get marks. Where is it? Get marks, this one. It will call this function with student name blank, semester 2, operation being average. So far things are working okay. We obviously want to call LLM second time so that you can print a human readable answer. This answer that we are getting is like 3, 2, not very interesting. I want to see whole sentence. Peter Pandey's paid fees is this much. And for that also we have seen how to do this before as well. So in the messages array that you have, what is my messages array? Well, messages array is the original question. In that, you need to append the response message. Why? Because that will help it build the context and it can work better. And in the second one, you need to append something called this particular dictionary, where your role is function, name is the function name, and content is whatever is your function response. Then you will call not ChatGPT but OpenAI again with those messages that you're passing as an input. And then the response that you get will be again choice is 0, message content. That's pretty much a standard path that you have in that particular JSON response. So let's run this again. Average marks of semester 3. See, the average marks of semester 3 is 2.7. So this generation of this nice, beautiful sentence is done by this second call. And if you say average GPA in third semester, see, notice this is the same question, but the language I'm using is different. And it will give me the appropriate answer. See, previously the average marks of semester 3, see, 3 was number and here was marks. Now I'm saying GPA, and instead of 3 number, I'm saying third. See, the average GPA in third semester is 2.7. Okay, now someone can come and they can ask some stupid question as well. Or not a stupid question. Let's say they ask the usual common knowledge question, which is what is the purpose of a balance sheet? Is that going to work? Maybe not, because I'm not handling that scenario. Because see here, it gave me none, but I want it to return the proper response. So I handle only this if condition where there is a function call. But in this question, there won't be any function call. So it will go into the else. So I need to return from the response message. I need to return content. Okay, so what is response message? Response message is this. Let's see, where is response message? Yes. Choice is 0, message, and after message you need content, because if you read the documentation, OpenAI documentation, it says choices, then 0th element, then message, and then content. So that's what we are giving here. Let's rerun it again. And now see, it is generating an answer of a common general question which ChatGPT can also answer. And it is generating an answer of a question which is specific to our college or which is specific to our database. Now comes the easy and fun part, which is building the front end or UI in Streamlit. I'm going to import Streamlit as st, and I'm using the same main.py file that was created. I removed all the previous code. Here, I will create a title of my application, which will look something like Atlic College Q&A system maybe. And your application is ready. You can go to terminal and you can run Streamlit run main.py, and it will launch that application in a browser. See, it's so easy to create applications in Streamlit. Now I'm going to import the get answer function from the OpenAI helper module. And I'm also going to put some text input. So we'll put some text input which will take an input question. And if you type in a question, it will come into this variable. And if you say if question, then you call your function. Let's run this. Let's rerun, click on rerun, and you see this question input. And when you type something and hit enter, that is the time it comes into this if block, where you will call this get answer function, and your question is question. So what you get as a result is your answer. And then that answer you can display below the question. So below the question, here you will need a label called answer and then the actual answer. So let's create that label first, which is simple answer text. And then you will write your answer here, and that's it. This is ready. So now you can rerun it and see, we are giving some garbage. So it's not gonna return you anything. Say it's running. I'm sorry, but I don't know what you're saying here. So you need to give proper question here. So I will go and copy paste some of this question. What is the, how much was Peter Pandey's dues, fees, whatever. And while it is returning the answer, let me copy paste another question, which is average GPA in third semester. See, Peter Pandey's due fees is whatever, this much. Then you have another question. You can ask n number of questions on your internal Atlic College database. You can also ask general question like what is balance sheet, or give me a or let's say write a poem on dosa, only 4 lines. I love South Indian food, dosa especially, in southern lands on a sunny day, whatever. So it can answer all the questions which ChatGPT can answer, plus the internal Atlic database related questions. That's it, folks. The code is given in a video description. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe to our channel. This might be a smaller thing for you. Just clicking on a button is like 1 second work, but we are putting a lot of hard work in building these videos. So really it will help us in terms of YouTube algorithm, promoting our content. So I really appreciate if you are finding any value of our tutorial, please make sure you're clicking on thumbs up button, sharing the content with your friends who are trying to learn this thing, and also subscribe to our channel. If you have any questions, there is a comment box below.